This intriguing question uncovers a spectrum of stories, controversies, and debates that ripple through the pages of history. From the United States offering reparations to the Jewish community and Vietnam, to the conspicuous absence of similar gestures towards the African American community, this conundrum continues to spark conversations. Why this selective approach to amending past wrongs? Join us as we delve into the complex history of reparations. To understand the current debate, we need to go back in time, to a time when the United States, acknowledging their role in conflicts and injustices, took steps to make amends. Let's walk through the corridors of history to unravel the story of reparations. Our first stop is post-Second World War era, when the United States, along with other allied nations, made significant contributions to the Jewish displaced persons, survivors of the Holocaust. This was an attempt to compensate for the unimaginable atrocities inflicted upon them. Next, we move to the late 20th century. The United States, recognizing the harm caused by the Chinese Exclusion Act, passed the Civil Liberties Act in 1988. This act served as an apology and provided reparations to the surviving Chinese immigrants who had been unjustly excluded or detained. Fast forward a bit and we find ourselves in Vietnam. After the devastating war, the United States took responsibility for the damage caused. They invested heavily in rebuilding the country and supporting the Vietnamese who had been affected. These examples are just a few among many. They serve as precedents, highlighting times when the United States has taken responsibility for their actions and made efforts to compensate the affected communities. But let's shift our focus now to a community that has been waiting for their due for over 4 centuries. A community whose ancestors were brutally enslaved, their freedom and dignity stripped away. A community that, despite contributing significantly to the prosperity of this nation, has faced systemic racism and continues to do so. This is the African American community, a community with a bloodline tied to slavery, a bloodline that has endured hardship and fought for equality and justice. Yet, with this history, the question remains, why are African Americans who have a 400-year-old bloodline tied to slavery yet to receive reparations? Let's focus on the African American community and their claim for reparations. For over 400 years, African Americans have borne the brunt of numerous atrocities, which, although recognized, have not been compensated for. The history of African Americans is marred by the indelible scars of slavery, a brutal practice that spanned centuries. This was not just a theft of labor, but a theft of lives, culture, and identity. Yet the nation has not made amends for this historical injustice. In the years following the abolition of slavery, African Americans have been subjected to systemic racism and inequality, evident from the mass incarcerations and lynchings. These are not just instances of the past, but painful realities that continue to affect the community to this day. The Biden administration, like its predecessors, has been approached multiple times about the issue of reparations. Yet, despite acknowledging the historic and systemic injustices suffered by African Americans, the administration has not committed to making reparations. The question then arises, why is there such a reluctance to make reparations to African Americans when the country has done so for other communities and nations? It's clear that the issue isn't about the ability to pay reparations, but rather the willingness to do so. But what could happen if African Americans were to receive reparations? This is not just a question of financial compensation, but a potential springboard for economic growth and societal change. If reparations were to be paid, this could lead to an economic boost from increased spending and investment. Think about it. More money in the hands of African Americans could mean more businesses, more home ownership, more education opportunities once out of reach, now made possible. Beyond the economic, there's also the social and psychological impact. Reparations could serve as a tangible acknowledgement of the centuries-long injustices inflicted upon African Americans. Such a gesture could help in healing old wounds, instilling a sense of justice and equality that's been long overdue. So, it's clear to see that the implications of reparations extend far beyond the individual level. The debate on reparations is more than just about money. It's about acknowledging past wrongs and taking steps towards healing and equality. As we've seen, the issue of reparations is complex and contentious. We've explored the history, dissected the African American case, and pondered the potential impact. The selectivity of reparations is puzzling, demanding reflection. As we move forward, the question remains, who deserves reparations and why?